So, Andy, good to see you again.
And good to see you, although the circumstances are kind of like a funeral. But
But once again, we are here at Ethan
and Andy
Go
go to
to
City.
City. Yes, it's kind of like a funeral where there was a ray of hope for 2 days, and then it was all dashed yesterday.
Yeah, it was a tough weekend getting swept by the lowly Rockies. You thought those two wins maybe were the sign that they have come out of their collective funk, but they're right back in it.
And they're just not hitting. It's like even when they get decent pitching, like with McLean, they just don't hit enough.
Yeah, I mean, you even think about, Senga was completely ineffective, but he was gone, and they didn't give up another run after he left. But it didn't matter. If 3 runs is the damage that you can't overcome, you're not going to win many baseball games.
And of course, we had the bad news that just as Soto got back, Lindor is out,
Same
which
day,
does not
right?
help. Yep,
That's crazy. Yeah,
with
that's
the same
with the
injury.
same injury, but different leg. So
Yes.
I saw somebody post on a blog saying, "Well, the good news is that 50% of Lindor's calves are just fine." Yeah, it's grim.
Yeah.
It's grim. Where do you stand on um, firing Mendoza?
Well, it's not going to make a big difference, but it's about the only thing they can do at the moment. I mean, I doubt there's an impactful trade they can make. They don't have people really in the minor league system that they can bring up.
Not ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's probably won't make a difference, but what else are you going to do?
Yeah, I was very much of the mind, especially during the losing streak, don't fire Mendoza. He is not the one not hitting. He's not the one who assembled this group. Is there anything he can do that makes Bichette approach his career numbers? No. But I've come around a little bit, not only because if you got to do something, it's something to do, but like when two relief pitchers came out at the same time in the ninth inning the other day, that seemed a little like unprepared. There's a lot of mental mistakes that go on. That seems to be maybe a condition of preparation. So I'm, and then also it's not just this year. I mean, this team has underperformed since late spring of last year, even with a different cast of characters. So a lot of the blame I think goes on Stearns, but I also am beginning to think that Mendoza's not getting the most out of people.
Right. That's the thing. I don't think Mendoza is adding anything at the moment. And
Very
it
good
feels
point.
unfair that becomes the scapegoat for everything that goes wrong, but you have to try something. And whether that's, maybe Beltran takes his place or maybe they hire Alex Cora. I mean, but you do need a different approach.
You need something. I mean, something's got to change. And yeah, like you said earlier, I don't know that a new manager does anything. I don't think he's hitting wrong buttons, but I just don't see this team mentally, in the games, and that I think falls on the coaching staff and the managerial staff. I mean, but yeah, it's awful.
Yeah, exactly. And you think that, I mean, at the moment, I almost blame David Stearns more than Mendoza because he's the one who put this team
Sure.
together and sort of this was his time to do everything. But if you fire David Stearns now, what do you do?
Yeah.
It's even less
No.
impactful than firing the
Yeah,
manager.
I don't think that works. I think he's got to be held to account, and I think he's got a lot to answer for. I read something in the Athletic actually on my way here where it said in raising the potential ceiling for this team, he also lowered the floor. Did you see
I
that
read
this
that,
morning?
yes.
And I hadn't thought about that, but it's true because a lot of the guys he brought in, Polanco for one, at least Robert Jr.
Yeah.
Like these guys don't always stay on the field, right? Not that Siri did last year either, but that's an interesting take I hadn't thought of, and maybe that's true.
Right. And if for whatever reason, it seems like most players that come to the Mets need like a season to get adjusted to New York, you have 5 players that need to get adjusted to New York. And if they all have bad seasons, this is not going to be a good
You're
season.
doomed.
Yeah.
I mean, and a lot of the blame has to fall on. I mean, it's a little hard to blame these guys because they are what they are. But like Beatty showed some signs of breaking out last year. he's beginning to prove that he's not really an everyday major leaguer, or maybe even a major leaguer. Vientos is like, he was so hot when he finally got some playing time this year. Didn't really help the team win, but now he's back to being cold, and he's you know muffing things at first base. I think the sort of supporting cast is not coming together in the way that maybe they hoped. And Benj obviously taking his hits. I don't mean like base hits. I mean his lumps. Yeah, it's rough.
No, and I don't know how much if the minor leagues is completely Stearns' fault now or plus. I mean, because a lot of players were coming through the system when he got hired, but it's like who has done well? I mean, Alvarez has been okay, and he certainly has the potential still to be a star, but he's been injured and he's hasn't hit consistently. And yeah, and then Beatty, Vientos, and all the players that that they got and some of that they got rid of, and none of them have proven. And even Mauricio has certainly not taken advantage of the opportunities he's had so far. Though hopefully he has a couple of weeks to show what he can do.
Yeah, I think Mauricio is, I, that injury that he suffered a couple seasons ago was devastating because it really robbed him of very um, needed development time. And then last year, I mean, he sat on the bench for weeks on end, and that's you can't treat a young player like that.
Right.
So I think he gets a little bit more rope than Vientos and Beatty, but it's interesting because if you think about it, the guys that they just got rid of was the previous wave of the homegrowns.
Mm-hmm.
Alonso, McNeil, Nimmo, right? Those guys all came through the farm system, and they all proved themselves to be major leaguers. I mean, in Alonso's case, I mean, he had 53 home runs his rookie year, right? So very, very quickly. This next wave is not gelling nearly the way that first wave did, or the previous wave did.
No, and there seems to be a lot of pitching down there, but at the moment, McLean is the only one who has really shown. And even he is like only going like 5 innings, and I'm willing to give him some more rope because I mean those 5 innings are looking terrific, but he still needs time to like perfect his craft.
They said on the broadcast the other day, on the radio broadcast, this was his 14th major league start. So that's not a lot of education. So I agree. But you'll see I'm wearing I usually wear my New York Mets hat. This is my Syracuse Mets hat. It's my subtle suggestion that maybe they just swap rosters with the AAA team. And how could it possibly be worse at this point? So
I know, or they should just put Syracuse or Binghamton on SNY.
Yeah, I mean,
probably get better ratings.
This is a really, really painful team to watch and follow. And a lot of it is because of expectations, and a lot of it is because of payroll. I mean, you and I are really old Mets fans, and losing is not alien to us. But this level of investment in the club and flopping reminds me of that. What was it, the '92 season when they brought in Vince Coleman and Bonilla and they flopped.
Yep, the worst team money can buy.
Yeah, that one. Was that '92?
I think it was '92 or '93.
Yeah. But yeah, it's reminiscent of that.
And it's amazing to think you have a team that has, well, it's the thing, it hasn't had Soto the entire, but you have Soto and Lindor, and hopefully they're both going to be at full speed at some point this season. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and those two are superstars, right? Those two, it always takes more than one player or two player in baseball to lift the whole, the tide. But the supporting cast is so underperforming. It's just nuts. It's just nuts. And we haven't even talked about, I mean, I mentioned Senga a little bit earlier, but like he's unplayable right now.
Yeah. There's just, and I don't know what you do. I mean, like if you just release him, I'm sure he tacks on with somebody and
becomes a Cy Young Award winner.
Exactly. And they also talk about maybe he'll agree to go down to the minors again, which, but what does that do?
It didn't do the trick last year.
Exactly.
So he didn't come back last year. Yeah.
It's Cy. Exactly. But so, okay, well, the small bright spot is the start of the pitching rotation. So you have Peralta, who, even though he can't seem to go more than 5 innings, still looks like a good pitcher. And you have McLean, who's still learning, and you have Holmes, which, I mean, actually, he may be the most consistent, best pitcher this season.
And consistency is exactly what he brings, which is great. Yeah. And the bullpen, I mean, obviously Williams has spit the bit. I think Kimbrel's done, but Brazoban had looked good, so that's good. And Tobias Myers looks pretty decent. So there's and we're probably going to get Minter back eventually, so there might be some solidity in there. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's really hard. I mean, it's like grasping for at
Well, I
straws to
know.
come up with something good to talk about.
I know, and I have a small drop of, I don't know, not sympathy exactly, but understanding for Williams in like when he whatever that game he blew was the first time he pitched in 2 weeks.
Yes,
It's,
I know it's a little hard to judge him on that. Yeah, and that's a function of them losing and losing big for 12 games in a row. Yeah, it's yeah.
but yeah, but that also could go to like to the manager again because even though bringing the closer in when it's not a real save situation sometimes can backfire. But if he hasn't been pitching for 2 weeks, he should have been in a couple of times just to keep him.
Right.
Yeah,
But the problem there is, what if you bring him in a non-safe situation, just to get him to work,
yeah,
and the work turns out to be more than you wanted it to be,
right.
and the next day you need him to save. That's a
Yeah,
really dicey proposition. But you're right. Like, who's going to stay sharp with 2 weeks of not pitching? I mean, yeah. So maybe again, maybe that's an indictment of Mendoza. I don't know. Mendoza looked like he pushed all the right buttons in 2024. There are certain seasons in baseball that, a team seems to be, blessed, and they rise above their collective talent, and 24 is beginning to look a little like that.
and even in the best of circumstances, it takes time for new teammates to gel.
Yeah,
And and if they were just playing 500 baseball, you would give them a lot more leeway.
that's correct.
Yeah.
But they're playing what, 333 baseball or
Hmm.
something. It's awful. I mean, the weird thing is the Phillies have the same record. So those guys must be pulling their hair out too. Uh, to me, that was a little more predictable because I even looked at their roster last year looking forward. I'm like, they're going to be a pretty old team next year. And then, of course, they lost Wheeler, but he came back this weekend, I
I
think.
think so. Yeah.
Um, but those are two teams that were expected to be, way up at the top, and they are both just scuffling.
I know. And Atlanta's sort of winning the division, but almost by default.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard some people say they're surprised by Atlanta, but Atlanta had like Murphy's Law season last year,
Hmm.
so I'm not surprised by it.
Yeah.
They have a lot more health than they had last year. That team is perennially good, even in an off year like last year, the talent is still so obvious. So never count out the Braves ever.
It's true. I know, and it's tough trying to think of things to talk about. I mean, just to jump back on the manager again, basically they fired the entire coaching staff
Yes.
and kept Mendoza, and now in retrospect, it's like almost they should have gotten rid of Mendoza with everybody else, or they should have given him people that he's worked with, and it's a team, and the manager has his team that he wants to rely on.
Yeah.
So there's probably some degree of getting to know these new people too.
Yeah. It was a huge turnover, you know, um, coaching staff and roster all at the same time. And I guess that's really rolling the dice more than maybe the fans recognized. I don't know. I think also too, if you remember back in the offseason, we were all panicked that there was nobody to play any of these positions. So we were so glad that he filled those spots. And not only did he fill the spots, I mean, Bichette is a perennial all-star.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it looked like he'd filled some spots with some really good people, and there was reason to believe that that Luis Robert maybe not be his all-star level, but that he would be better. But too much change all at once. It looks like. I don't. I think we were also relieved that we didn't give much thought to, like, do these pieces really fit?
No, it's true. And the fact is, because of this awful start, it's gone to the point where, if Bichette plays up to his usual numbers and Soto and Lindor are back and they're hitting their usual amount and Soto's hits still manages to hit 30 or 40 home runs somehow, they're still not gonna be good enough. It, they might maybe get to a playoff spot, but I mean that's looking less and less
It
likely.
is. I mean,
Yeah.
they're 10 games under right now.
Yeah.
So even so, if they play, you know, eh, yeah, have to play tremendous ball just to get to
Yeah.
500.
Yeah.
Obviously it's still early. A lot of different things can happen, but the problem is I'm just not seeing any hint that somebody's coming around, and that's a problem. One thing I did notice is they also seem to have already hit into a whole season's worth of line drive double plays in 1 month. So I think I can't attribute everything to luck, but they've had some pretty bad luck too, it seems to me. So it's almost like everything, it's Murphy's Law, like the Braves
Mhm.
last year. Anything that can go wrong is going wrong.
So just for the hell of it, like if you could do anything with this team, what would you do? It's say you would have Lindor and Soto at full strength,
Sure.
and Alvarez at catcher. But then you start saying, I mean, yeah, like if you could do anything, you didn't care about money, would you cut Semien and like put Bichette at second base? It's
And then, but even then, what? Beatty's playing your third base. I mean,
yeah,
Beatty's not hitting that much better than
no,
Semyon. So, um, I don't think there's a quick fix. I wish
yeah,
there were. Um, and the outfield, I mean, the fact that they had to bring up Tommy Pham shows just how thin the outfield depth is on this
yeah.
in this system. I mean, that's nuts.
And you should have, and it should have had two or three people. I mean, I know there was who got hurt the day before spring training ended.
Oh,
Was it Mullen?
Talkman. Yeah, yeah,
Talkman.
yeah.
That was, but still, you should have had two or three Talkmans.
Sure. And then Melendez came up and he was
Yeah.
actually doing okay. He's
Okay.
like been their best hitter and he was kind of a throwaway. But like, yeah, if in April Tommy Pham is your next tap, I think you haven't built the depth that you need. It's one thing if you've got cycled through 5 outfielders and you're now digging at the depths, but yeah, it's bad. I don't think there's a quick fix. I don't.
Yeah. And Ryan Clifford's been hitting better in AAA. And I don't know. I
He's a
mean,
strikeout machine
yeah.
now.
But
But
I mean, maybe I would rather see him strike out than watch Polanco somehow try to make it. But even though Polanco again is supposed to be a good hitter, it was his defense that was the
right,
question mark.
right. Well, yeah, the sad thing is they wanted to improve. Look, I understand not wanting to give Alonso the money and the year, especially the years he wanted. I get that. But the idea was to improve defense. They have not, that first base defense is not all that improved, if at all. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it certainly has taken a mega hit offensively. So you'd need like Keith Hernandez style gold glove first baseman to make up for how little they're hitting over there.
Yeah.
Boy, this is the most depressing
I know.
podcast ever.
It really is. No, and then I mean, this is something I've read about in a lot of the stories. That, of course, after last season, the problem, if you looked at what the Mets' most pressing problem was, you probably would have said the pitching, and the pitching not lasting in more than 4 or 5 innings.
Sure.
I mean, so again, forgetting about money, but you keep the offense basically the way it was, and you invest in getting several pitchers, would seem to have been
The way to go.
yeah.
I mean, they got Peralta, and
Yeah.
that's a good move.
Yeah.
But I would say this. I would say Alonso. I don't blame Stearns that much for letting Alonso walk. It's a huge hit, but I do think that you didn't need to trade Nimmo this year. You could have waited till next offseason. I don't think you needed to trade McNeil. I mean, yes, they're aging, but like McNeil is still younger than Simeon is, and Simeon hasn't hit in years now. So, yeah. I mean, a lot of this is on Stearns' shoulder. I don't know how you carve it up any other way.
No, and then if you start thinking about the future, I mean, if Bichette doesn't start hitting, then maybe he wants to opt into his other $40 million years in his contract. At the same time, maybe he wants to get out of here as quickly as possible.
It's so funny you say that. I go back and forth. Like he could be like, I can't play in New York, get me out of here, or he could be like, I'm never going to get this kind of money off of this year, and he opts in. Now, if we subscribe to the notion that it sometimes takes good players a year to adjust to New York, then having him opt in might actually pay off.
Right.
Beltran was that way. We talked about this last time, but there are other players who have demonstrated that. But I mean, I can't believe in April we're already thinking about like, how do you fix this team in years to come? It's really I didn't see this coming at all.
No, I did not either. So The only other, I think, do we have any memories of '86 or other decent years to talk about? I do like that Jeff Pearlman book, The Bad Guys Won.
Yeah,
And you realize, I mean, just the pitching staff there. I mean, besides Gooden and Darling and Ojeda and Sid Fernandez, who you kind of forget about sometimes, and they were all like 10, 11, 12 games, 12-3 by the All-Star break. And Aguilera was there, and he was like your worst pitcher, and he would probably be the ace on this team.
absolutely. And that's, and that's an era too when like those guys would, if they only went six, something went wrong.
Yeah,
So like, and then you had Orozco and McDowell at the back end of that bullpen, and like, I mean, God, that team, that's the anti 2026 team. That team could do no wrong.
right.
Um, and it too had a bunch of homegrowns, right? Backman was a homegrown, Dykstra was a homegrown, Mookie was a homegrown, Gooden was a homegrown.
Yeah,
So many, Kevin Mitchell later in the season was a homegrown.
Brown. Yep.
Darryl obviously was a homegrown. And then they brought in really great, not for that year, but the guys they brought in, Carter obviously behind the plate,
Mm-hmm.
Hall of Famer, Keith Hernandez near Hall of Famer, Ray Knight, future MVP of the World Series. I mean, like they didn't make a bad move on that team.
I know.
They got rid of George Foster when they needed to get rid of George Foster,
And brought back Lee
brought back Lee Mazzilli. Yeah, that was oh my God. It's hard to believe it was 40 years ago, but boy, that was a different era and a very, very different team. And their manager, I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
had more faith in Davy Johnson than you'd ever have in any manager before or since. At least I did.
No, it's true. And then and like Davy Johnson, had no qualms talking to the media, and he had like his daily show that like before every game he was like talking. He was pretty blunt about what he felt about players and the team, and I don't know.
You also had managers back then being the brains of the operation. Now you have the front office calling all sorts of shots, and like I don't know, there's something to be said about the way your players respond to you, maybe if they know you've been through the trenches, or the person making the decision has been. I mean, Stearns never played baseball.
No,
I mean, maybe he played in high school, but he didn't play real competitive baseball. So yeah, there's a lot about the modern game that's a little harder to root for, I'll say.
I know, and it's like, and like we said, I don't think it's going to make a huge difference, but possibly if Beltran becomes the next manager, I mean, forgetting about the way his playing career ended, I mean, he has the credentials, he knows what it's like.
And everybody says he's brilliant too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the way it ended that to me is such a stain.
I know. The one thing about going back to '86, there was that game where both Orozco and McDowell were in the same game.
Oh, when they were
switched
swapping
back
right
and forth.
field? Was it right field or left field?
I think right field. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Pete Rose was the manager of the Reds back then, I think.
And
right?
he was like
He
looking
was
through
going
the
nuts,
rule
going
book.
through the rule book, and David Johnson was just laughing all the way to the bank. That was so brilliant.
Yeah.
And they also got warm-up pitches every time they came back.
That was Orozco.
That was the big
Pete Rose was complaining about that.
You know what? Watching Pete Rose get outmanaged, revenge for Buddy Harrelson in 1973.
Yes.
So, yeah, no, that was the thing too. That team not only was really good, they were arrogant as hell. That came from Davy Johnson, but permeated the entire team. That team was so much fun to watch, and it really should have been a dynasty. Unfortunately, it wasn't. But so what? We'll have 86 forever.
Yep, exactly. Well,
should we wrap this up?
I guess
On a good note.
So we're at the end of another Ethan
and Andy
go to Citi,
regretfully.
And we can hope that in 2 weeks we'll have better news to report on. And at least the Mets might be going in the right direction.
It's hard to imagine they'll be going in a worse one. So there's that. All right.
All right.
Thanks for another good show.
See you in 2 weeks.